driving. A few people are here already. Tips, skills, and abilities to drive safely on snow and ice so that you don't end up in the ditch, because people are terrified for whatever reason of winter driving. And when I asked the question about whether people are upset about driving on snow and ice in the wintertime, you would think that it is a blizzard and snow is 4 feet of snow every day from the end of October until the beginning of March. When in fact, it's not like that very much at all in the wintertime. Most of the time the roads are clear, it's overcast, and if there is snow, it's usually just residual snow. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight, give you some tips and strategies for driving on snow and keeping yourself safe and staying out of the ditch, right? Marion is here. Bricks for Wheels. Corey is the moderator, does an excellent job of getting up the videos I suggest you have a look at for more details to the questions you ask. Emily is here from Toronto. Hello. Marion, how's the weather there in Vancouver? Sean tuning in from Brooklyn Parks, Minnesota. Eric is here, and who else is here? Evan is here, and Skinny Fairy. And yes, I can talk about tires. Definitely talk about winter tires and the difference between those and dedicated snow tires. If you do have a lot of snow, if you are running up and down to the ski hill every day or driving on hardpack, then yes, dedicated winter tires on your vehicle. Most all-season tires will be rated either M+S, which is mud and snow, or they will be rated with the mountain snowflake symbol on them, which is a mountain and it has a snowflake in the center. And those are good for the winter time. And I have a pair of those on my vehicle. Trying to think of what kind they are. Yokomoto's? No. Yakima. No, that's not either. That's the roof rack. Anyway, I don't know what tires are on my vehicle in terms of the summer tires. I know I have a dedicated set of winter Michelin X Ice tires for the buggy, and they work really well. The all-season tires are fine, and as long as you're driving to conditions, you're going to be just fine. And the general rule that I'm going to give you for driving in the wintertime is if you're driving faster than the traffic flow when there's snow and ice or it's snowing, then you're probably driving too fast, okay? Most of the time, all right? Yokohama, that's it. Thank you, Eric, for correcting me on that, helping me out. I was having a bit of a brain cramp there in terms of tires. But if you don't get a great deal of snow, you're not traveling outside of the cities, the main areas, you're just driving in and around town and those types of things, and you don't want to invest in a set of winter tires because I know they're expensive. They can be anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 for a set of winter tires. So for most people, it's outside of your price range. And the reality is only about 25% of people actually mount winter tires on their vehicle during the season. Most people don't, because most of the all-season tires are going to do you just fine. And as I said, I have driven around all winter with all-season tires on my vehicle. The key is don't drive too fast, brake early, keep plenty of space in front of your vehicle, and that way you're going to make it through the winter time without safe. Now, am I advocating not putting winter tires on your vehicle? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is the reality is most people can't afford it. The reality is most people do not put dedicated winter tires on their vehicle. All right, 75% approximately people do not put snow tires on their vehicles. So if you don't do it, there are ways that you can drive that you're going to be just fine on the roadways. They're not going to work as well on ice, or they're not going to work as well if you're driving up and down to the snow hill every day, or you're driving on hardpack. Then yes, definitely dedicated winter tires or steel-studded tires. But if you listen to all of the rhetoric, the Winter Safety Alliance here in BC, it's dedicated winter tires when it's less than 7 degrees outside, or when it's 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That's craziness. I don't put snow tires on my vehicle until it actually snows in the wintertime. I still have the all seasons running around on them. Of course, the buggy hasn't been going too far of late because for the last month we've had engine problems. So it went in today. Actually, it's getting a new engine. So we'll see how that goes. All right, Don is here from Calgary, New Haven. Jose, hello, my friend. Status World, make sure you have insurance in the event you get into an accident. Don't do what I did from Paul. Yes, make sure you have insurance on your vehicle. That's always a good idea because, as you know, in the United States of America, it is a very litigious. It is a litigious society, which means it. Excuse me. They sue you. There's the crash, and you can be charged under, the Highway Traffic Act as a misdemeanor. And then after that, the personal injury lawyers come after you and they sue you for wrongful death or wrongful injury, pain and suffering, those types of things. And those amounts of money can be in the hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. So for, the amount of money that costs you for insurance, it's well worth it, because especially for younger drivers under age 25, the chances of you getting involved in a crash are much, much higher. So make sure that you have insurance on your vehicle. I know that it's incredibly expensive. This is the reason that you're not putting winter tires on your vehicle, because of the cost of insurance. I know for some young people, new drivers who are getting their license, they're looking at $2,500 a year, $3,000 a year for insurance, vehicle insurance. And that's just an exorbitant amount of money. I grumble and complain because I got to pay $1,000 a year for basic coverage for the buggy, my 1998 Honda CR-V, which is a 26-year-old vehicle. They're never going to fix it. They're never going to replace it. So I complain about it, but I know that what some of you are paying for insurance. And the other thing is, think about that when you're speeding, when you're doing something dangerous and you get a ticket from police, because those tickets affect your insurance. If you get 2 or 3 speeding tickets, your insurance, you can be guaranteed that your insurance premium is going to escalate. It is going to increase and cost you a lot more money for your insurance. So ice and snow, that's what we're talking about tonight. Brake early, creep up to where you actually want to stop at the intersection. Now, just going back to what I was saying before about winter time. Most of the time it's not snow covered, and most of the time the roads are clear, they're well sanded, they're well maintained. The first piece of information I will give you about winter driving, snow and ice, the main roads are almost always clear, okay? If you're on the secondary roads in suburban areas and those types of things, and you might encounter some snow and ice, but the highways, the main roads through town and whatnot are going to be well plowed, well maintained, well salted, those types of things. If there is a lot of snow, there is hard packed, the roads are snow covered, slow down. Slow down back from where you want to stop at the intersection and then creep up, okay? It's winter driving, okay? Make sure that you get stopped where you want to stop. There's a couple of videos here, winter driving videos, where I got in a hurry, was driving way too fast for conditions, got to the intersection, hit the brakes, and it's sheer ice. Okay, if you find that happens and it's slippery and you can't get traction with your vehicle, then move off to the outside of the lane to try and get some traction. Oftentimes, if you get into the snow on the edge of the roadway and whatnot, you'll find that you'll get some traction in there and you'll be able to get your vehicle stopped. Easy in the wintertime to get it going. We can almost always get our vehicle going and rolling in the wintertime. It's getting it stopped. That's what's going to get you into trouble in the wintertime, okay? Braking, slowing down. Jose says that he has his road test here in a couple of weeks, so pretty excited about that. Excellent. And are you pretty much ready for your driver's test there in Connecticut, Jose? You are in Connecticut, I'm assuming. You did say New Haven. Excellent. So one of the little pet peeves that I have today, and I've had this happen a few times the last couple of days I've been walking around, crosswalks. Why do drivers insist on stopping at the edge of the crosswalk when I'm walking through the crosswalk? Stop back one vehicle length. It's the same space management principle that I tell people all the time. Stop back one vehicle length. You don't have to be 3 feet away from me when I'm crossing the road. Are you in that much of a hurry that you got to be right up against me? Oh my God, it just drives me crazy. Some old bugger this morning, I'm crossing the road and they're making a right-hand turn and they just keep coming because they're in that much of a hurry. It's like, really? You're in that much of a hurry? Stay on the cross street, stay stopped until I hit the curb and then go. When you're at a crosswalk that's in a roadway, stay back one vehicle length. Give them plenty of room, okay? The United States of America and Canada, pedestrians, vulnerable road users, kids on skateboards, scooters, bicycles make up 25% of traffic fatalities. 40% of crashes happen in intersections, okay? Stay back. Give them some space. You're driving this 2,000-pound metal box. And there's nothing with them. There's no fender benders if they get in a crash. They're going to get hurt, okay? So please, I implore you, please stay back 1 vehicle length from the crosswalk. Do not crowd the pedestrians. You're not that 2 seconds you save is not going to change your life. All right, Emily, I feel like we're going to have another snow-free winter in Toronto like the last year. Okay. Places Buffalo, Erie, Pennsylvania, where my mom lives in Wingham, Ontario there, they all got a dump of snow. So they had a bunch of snow. But, you know, it's only a couple of days. And if you're not comfortable driving in the snow, driving on ice, stay home. Nothing you do is that important. Going to work, those types of things. Call in sick. Okay. Tell them there's too much snow. You're not comfortable driving. Take a taxi. Okay. Get somebody to come and pick you up who is comfortable driving in the wintertime. You don't have to go out and do it. It's only going to last for a day, maybe 2 at the most. Okay? If you're not comfortable doing it, don't do it. I don't know. We just live in a society so much in North America where we have to drive. We got to go. We got to go to work. But so many people are terrified, absolutely terrified of driving in the wintertime, driving on snow and ice. And they insist that they have to do it. And they're just going to white knuckle it all the way to wherever they need to go. And these, you know, if you're not comfortable doing it, don't do it. Okay? Stay home. Get somebody else to pick you up. Emily, we had nothing in the GTA. It's been so mild. Okay? So you didn't get snow there. My mom did. Jose, yeah, I've been doing my practice every day and it's been careful with ice over here. Crazy with ice. Okay, so you've had some ice there in Connecticut as well. Marion, they seem to think that if they come close to the pedestrian will move faster, they can move on. Marion, that's not my experience. I give them the stink eye. I'm looking at them as I'm crossing the road. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, of course, most of them have no idea what they're doing. They don't realize, nobody's ever taught them to stay away from the pedestrian, not crowd the pedestrian. They're like, what? What am I doing? What? You know, and then they're giving you the dirty look. And I'm like, I'm dead-eyeing them because get away from me. Carrie, hello, my friend. How are you? All good that you're a little bit late. So we're talking about winter driving. All right. And I'm pontificating about, you know, people crowding me at crosswalks. I just raises my ire. As I said to you, I'm a very calm driver when I'm in the car, but I'm riding my bicycle. I'm walking on the roadway as a pedestrian, and my anger, my road rage goes from 0 to 110 in like no time at all when I'm a pedestrian. I just drives me crazy when people crowd me in cars, and it's generally some old person or just pedestrian is king. Is that at that time? Yes. You know, so anyway, that's my little thing about pedestrians. So if you could give pedestrians a little bit more room, like 1 vehicle length, don't drive right up to the crosswalk, you know, because there's nothing there to protect the pedestrian. And I'll tell you, I do not step out until I know that the car has indeed seen me and is indeed, or the driver has indeed seen me and is indeed coming to a stop, because it just, raises my ire. Jose, yeah, that might worry a bit when I get my license, the snow weather over here. Jose, you're going to be just fine, okay? Like I said, the main roads are going to be clear. When you get into the suburban areas a little bit, yes, it might be snow covered and whatnot, but if there's a lot of snow, know that the DOT is going to postpone your driver's test. They will postpone it until it's clear another day, because they know you don't have a high skill level. So they're going to keep you safe. There's a great video of Gervais throwing a brick into the back of a Range Rover after not giving way at a crosswalk. Yeah, there's all kinds of people pedestrians, cyclists, all kinds of road rage videos around on the internet now when other cars do not give way at pedestrian crosswalks and those types of things, or they're simply crowding you. And again, as I say, and there was a comment from a smart driver the other day on the community tab about teaching his kids this, okay, do not step out in front of traffic, you know, to boldly go where no man has gone before and thinking that traffic is going to stop for you, because traffic is not going to stop for you. And as the pedestrian, there are no fender benders. Okay, if you get hit, you're going to lose. It's not like on television where you fly up onto the roof of the car and hit the windshield and the windshield breaks and you get up and go, oh, you know, that's good. I'm golden. You know, I just got hit by a car and went through the windshield, but you know, we're good. It doesn't happen like that. Okay. First of all, what happens is when a car hits you, generally most cars, most trucks are right at your hip. So it shatters your hip bone. It turns you up in the air. You come down on the hood of the car, generally on your head, hit the windshield, and then you are thrown off the car as the driver brakes. And you generally go down into the pavement on your head. And the crash that I just worked on with the 16-year-old that hit the pedestrian in the crosswalk, the pedestrian was thrown 100 feet on their head and sustained severe head trauma, and that was what unfortunately led to their death. So if you think that it's like it is on television, in Hollywood movies, where, you know, WikiHow can show you how to get hit by a car and you sustain no injuries, that is bunk. Complete and utter bunk. If you get hit by a car, even at a very low speed, you are going to sustain serious damage, and you're probably never going to walk right again. You will probably never ever walk without a limp. So as a pedestrian, as a cyclist, be super careful and do not trust drivers of cars, because I don't know where some of them got their license or where their brain is, because it's not on focusing on the driving task. All right. Ferry, we have sometimes a few centimeters of snow there. Excellent. Horse pucky. Yes, absolutely. Horse pucky. How about Ontario? What about Ontario? Emily, I have someone charge into a parking spot in Loblaws today. I think he thought it was parking there. He literally charged the spot, came out of nowhere. So dangerous. Yeah, and people, you know, driving crazy around parking lots. Why would you even be doing that? Children and pedestrians all over the place. Evan, even if everyone on the road was capable of driving without skidding and avoiding crashes, it's a good idea to stay home when possible so the snowplows have at least less vehicles to worry about. Yes, absolutely. If it's snowing and those types of things and you don't need to be out, don't be out. Okay, just stay home. It's only one day. It's the same thing, and Marion will know what I'm talking about here in terms of, you know, Seattle, Washington, or Vancouver, British Columbia. They get snow one day of the year, and it's right around freezing. It's incredibly slippery. Nobody knows how to drive in the snow who lives in Vancouver or lives in Seattle, Washington, and they all are out driving around. And then last year, the media is putting forth the crazy story that transit buses should have snow tires on them. Snow tires will not do anything in that kind of snow. Wet, greasy, once a year snow. Snow tires will make zero difference, okay? Because it is just snow that is not designed to be driven on. And I can remember the first time that I experienced this. I was living on Vancouver Island when we lived in Sydney, and the snow comes down. It's right around the freezing point, and it's full of water. It's super lubricated, and it's just treacherous. And they should, like Vancouver gets snow, they should just shut the city down for one day. Everybody stay home. We've imposed martial law. Nobody's going out. Nobody's driving. And then the next day the snow is gone because it goes up to 5 or 6 degrees Celsius. It goes up to 40, 45 degrees Fahrenheit. And the snow melts and everybody's safe. Status, while on a bus, rainy night in Mississauga, car may have struck a pedestrian southbound on Mavis Road. Yes, it happens, unfortunately. Jose, agree with you. Just stay home and drink some coffee. Yep. Marion, they are apparently putting special tires on buses on certain routes now. They had it on the news the other day. Excellent. So we're wasting taxpayers' money by putting tires on vehicles, on buses. Yeah, that's well worth our time. Carrie, at times one has to drive on slick roads because they need to get to work. Yes, work isn't that important, Carrie. I know that people need to get to work and it snows and whatnot, but there are other ways to get to work. Take public transit, call a taxi. It's simply not worth it. But, as I was talking about earlier, it seems to be a North American phenomenon, the United States and Canada, that we will not take public transit. We will not call a taxi cab. It's similar to people who go to the pub and they drink. And then they take the chance of getting in a car and driving home because, optimism bias kicks in and we're not going to get caught. And then they get caught. And even if you get caught and charged by police on the side of the road for drinking and driving, and you go to court and you fight it and you are found not guilty, it still costs you $8,000 for a defense. That makes a $70, $150 Uber or a taxi cab ride seem pretty inexpensive in comparison to $8,000. It's the same thing as driving to work on a day where it's slippery, it's snowy, and you do not have the skills necessary to be able to meet that challenge. And you end up in the ditch and you smash your car up and you don't have your car for a couple of weeks and your insurance goes up because you made a claim on your insurance and you have to get it fixed. It makes a $50 taxi cab ride seem, or an Uber seem pretty inexpensive. But it's just the way that we think as North Americans that we will not do this. I pontificate. All right, so I'm hoping OBS had an update today. I was looking at it, trying to get it fixed to make sure it doesn't crash. So hopefully with the presentation here, it's not going to crash on us. So we're going to go forward here and see what happens. All right. Dadgum weather, stuck in the ditch again, okay? People are driving too fast on bad tires in the wintertime on snow and ice, or they're simply not paying attention to what's going on. It's the same thing as black ice. All right, people are terrified of driving on black ice in the wintertime. But if it is around freezing, there's a lot of moisture in the air. For example, the day before it was melting and there's a lot of water running down the streets and whatnot, and then overnight it froze. There's going to be ice on the roadways, okay? Whether it's black ice or whether it's just ice. But know that, okay? Take note of the temperature outside. And most vehicles in the last 5 years or whatnot all have temperature gauges on them. They will tell you when the temperature is around freezing and there's potential for ice on the roadways. The other skill and tip that you can use in the wintertime is to look at the roofs of the houses. If there is frost on the roofs when you get up in the morning, there's going to be frost on the roadways. There's going to be ice on the roadways. So take that as another tip, another skill. All right, for those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s, hauled freight between Ontario, Canada, and the United States. Became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997 in a bid to try and come off the roadway and not be a long-haul truck driver and be gone for a couple of weeks at a time. 2006, graduated from the University of Melbourne with my doctorate in legal history. While I was going to university, for those 3 years, drove buses for Greyhound, one of the regional bus lines there, so I have bus experience as well. Worked for one of the hospitals in London, Ontario, doing driver rehabilitation with people that had debilitating injuries, strokes, brain injuries, missing a limb. Taught them to drive with hand controls and whatnot, so did a lot of that work. And then in 2015, I started the online YouTube channel and the work that I'm doing now with expert witness testimony, crashes, investigating car crashes, truck crashes, bus crashes. And, it's been wildly more successful than I could have imagined. As I said, we're coming up on 10 years doing the YouTube thing and the business and whatnot. And it's been just absolutely really awesome. All right, videos to have a look at. If you don't know how to dress for the cold, have a look at this, Survive the Freeze. Corey will put that video up as well for those of you watching on the live stream, or watching on the replay rather. The link is down in the description. Have a look at that. And disobeying this side, speed signs. If you're taking your driver's test, practice in and around the test center where you're going to be taking your test. Figure out where the speed changes when you're driving, and adjust your speed accordingly to be successful on passing your driver's test. Okay, winter washer fluid. The first thing you need to do to drive safely in the wintertime is make sure that you fill your windshield washer fluid with winter washer fluid. Don't ever put water in it, okay? Get rid of the summer windshield washer fluid because it's plastic. As you know, water expands when it becomes ice. That's why ice floats on top of lakes. And the reservoir, the tank that holds the windshield washer fluid in your vehicle is plastic. And if there's water in there and it freezes, it will expand and it will break that tank, and it's a few $100s to fix that reservoir. Okay, you get onto some of these roads, you drive the Trans-Canada Highway here in Canada, for example, up over through the mountains. You drive the Snoqualmie Pass in the Rocky Mountains east of Seattle, Washington. You're going to need windshield washer fluid and good windshield wipers on your vehicle because there's going to be a lot of spray that's coming off the roadway, coming off other vehicles, and they put a lot of sand down on the roads to provide traction for traffic because it gets so cold on these roadways that salt only works down to about -8 degrees Celsius, which is about 23 degrees Fahrenheit. After that, once the temperature gets any lower than that, you can't melt the snow and ice on the roadways. And this is why in the mountains you're going to get hard pack, where it's just basically snow and ice build up on the roadways, and it's called hard pack. You're essentially driving on the top of snow and ice. And if you are doing that a lot, that's when you're going to need dedicated winter tires on your vehicle. Okay, stay away from plows, stay away from sand trucks, and as well, know not to pass snow plows on the roadway because what's in front of this snow plow is the fact that the road is not cleared, and as well, you know, you don't know how long that snowplow driver's been behind the wheel. They're probably really tired and they're not really paying attention to what you're doing, and you don't know how far the plow is hanging out on either side of that vehicle. All right, so we were talking about tires before, and I had the question, Skinny Fairy, do I think all season is safe in Ontario? It depends where you're driving. If you're driving just in and around the cities and you have all season tires that have either the M&S symbol on the side of the tire or you have the mountain snowflake symbol on the tire, then it's probably going to be okay if you're just driving around in the cities and those types of things. The key, however, is driving the appropriate speed, slowing down before you get to where you actually want to get stopped, and then creep up to where you want to stop. If you are driving faster than the traffic flow, you're definitely driving too fast on the roadways. All right, if you are driving up and down to the ski hill, you're driving on a lot of hard pack in and around Seattle, going to the ski hills and whatnot, you definitely need steel-studded tires on your vehicle, but look at what state you're in, what province you're in, because some may not allow steel-studded tires. We are allowed here in British Columbia where I live. However, the end of October you can put them on and they have to be off by the end of March. Now, personally, I don't like steel-studded tires because we just don't get enough snow. And on dry pavement, steel-studded tires are incredibly noisy, first and foremost, and as well they do a lot of damage to the asphalt on our roadways, so they're expensive. Okay, if you do get dedicated winter tires, make sure you have good siping. That just means that there's good tread, flexible blocks on the snow tires, and that it will evacuate and get rid of the snow between the treads so that you can maintain traction on the roadway. That's important. And the reason, the difference between all-season tires and snow tires is that snow tires have a softer rubber compound, so they stay flexible even when it gets cold, as opposed to all-season tires, which tend to harden up on ice and snow and they don't flex and whatnot. So that's the reason they don't give you as much traction as dedicated snow tires are. Okay, stopping on ice. If you do hit ice and you're trying to get your vehicle stopped, okay, get off the brake, get off the accelerator, and concentrate on steering the vehicle where you want to go. This is in the event that your vehicle goes into a skid. Okay, move out of the main lines where other traffic is driving, trying to get over to the right and slow down and get some traction on your vehicle, because as we said, you know, all-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, four-wheel drive vehicles, it doesn't matter. They're all going to get going Getting going is not your problem. Getting the vehicle slowed down, getting the vehicle stopped is going to be your problem. Okay, the reason that you're going to lose control of the vehicle is because it gets out of the straight. It's not going straight anymore, and it gets sideways. You're oversteering. You're steering too much, you're braking too much, or you're accelerating too much. Any one of the primary controls, overuse of those is going to get you into trouble when you're driving on slippery conditions. And in the wintertime, steering and braking become two separate actions, okay? Brake first and then steer going around the corner. You don't want to be on the brakes while you're going around the corner. That works just fine in the summertime when roads are clear and dry, but it's not going to work if you're into slippery road conditions. Okay, slush and deep snow. Know that if there is slush on the roadways, slush is when you get a deep dump of snow, they don't get it plowed off, and you get those windrows of snow between the lanes of traffic. And if you change lanes across that windrow of deep, slushy, wet snow, know that it's going to push you around. So make sure you have a good hold on the steering wheel and you do it nice and gently going from one lane to the other. And it's going to make a lot of noise because it's banging up underneath the car and whatnot. So know that when you're moving from one lane to the other. Focus on where you want to go and stay straight, okay? If the vehicle starts to move, get your foot off the accelerator until it straightens out and then get back on the accelerator, especially if you have a front wheel drive vehicle, okay? Don't pass on curves in the wintertime when it's slippery because, as I said, that's when you're going to get into trouble, is when the vehicle gets out of line. It's not straight anymore. Okay, passing large vehicles, know that trucks, cars are going to kick up a lot of slush, a lot of snow, and wetness off the roadways, okay? Salt and ice and those types of things. So you're going to have to turn your windshield wipers on when you're passing large vehicles. Stay back so you can see the landmarks. A lot of the landmarks that you're using for night driving, if visibility is bad when it's snowing, you're going to be looking for utility poles, traffic signs along the roadway and whatnot, following other traffic. And again, if the weather gets bad and there's a lot of snow and visibility is bad, please don't turn on your four-way flashes. We all know it's bad out there, okay? We don't need you with your four-way flashes on. It just distracts from focusing on staying on the roadway and keeping yourself out of trouble, okay? Be aware of changing light conditions, that this is going to affect traffic. That if you say, for example, changing light conditions going in under an underpass, a mountain or something like that, the traffic in front of you is going to slow down because the light has changed, and people do this unconsciously when they're driving. Chop steering. This is adopted from racing, and it's one thing that you can do if you're going around a corner and it's incredibly slippery, is you can pull the steering wheel down, bring it back to straight, and then bring it down again. And this will allow you to get some traction and go around the corner so that you can keep control of your vehicle. Okay, it often happens when you have understeering, which is basically you turn the steering wheel and the vehicle continues to go straight. What happens is the wheels stop turning, stop rolling, they turn sideways and they stop, and you're basically pushing the front end of the vehicle sideways. So what you need to do is get the steering wheel back to straight, allow the wheels to turn, and then turn it again and allow it to get some traction so it'll go around. And in some scenarios, some driving situations, this will allow you to get traction again so you can get going and get the vehicle going in the direction that you want it to go, not the way that it's going to be going. All right, skid control, drive for the conditions of the road. Make sure that you're wearing your seatbelt. Okay, chop steering. If the chop steering isn't working, get off the brake, get off the throttle, and focus on where you want to go. Now, I know that some of the tips and techniques that I've been reading of late are steer gently in the direction that you want to go. Yes, that works fine in a happy, ideal world. But the reality is that oftentimes if you lose control of your vehicle and it starts to skid, there's nothing you're going to be able to do to bring it back. And you're going to have to steer like a crazy person, and you're going to have to do all the praying that you can that it's going to come back to straight and start going where you want it to go. And as well, I put up the question all the time on the community tab. If you start to lose, if your vehicle goes into a skid, what do you do, right? steer in the direction you want to go. And inevitably people come back to me and say, steer in the direction of the skid. What does that even mean? And there's an old Bill Cosby skit that is absolutely hilarious about that. He loses control of his Volkswagen Beetle on the roadway at night in the rain. And he's trying to remember, as everything slows down in slow motion, it will say, if you go into a skid, turn in the direction of the skid. Well, which way is the direction of the skid? And what if the skid is going towards the ditch? Is that the way you're going to drive? No, you're going to drive in the direction that you want to go. So get off the accelerator, get off the brake, steer in the direction that you want to go, okay? Don't try and figure out which direction the skid is because nobody knows, okay? Just steer where you want to go. And you're not going to be able to steer gently. Sometimes you're going to have to steer like a crazy person. And as I said, you need to make sure that you have your seatbelt on, because if you're not in the driver's seat, you can't steer the vehicle, right? So that's the other piece about wearing your seatbelt. It's not the fact that it protects you in the event of a crash. It also keeps you in the driver's seat, all right? So all that. And get out of the ruts. If you're losing traction, get out of the ruts where everybody else is driving and get over into the snow off to the edge of the roadway and try and find some traction. Skid recovery, steer in the direction you want to go. Get off the accelerator, get off the throttle, and get off the brake. Okay, steer the direction in the vehicle that you want. Wear your seatbelt, and if a crash is imminent, okay, aim for something soft. Don't head for a rock. Don't head for a tree because they don't move, okay? Head for a ditch, head for a fence, a shrub, or something like that. And try and get your speed down as much as possible before impact, all right? That's going to increase your chances of survival. Okay? Steer like a mad person. Don't give up. Aim for something small. Conclusion, okay? Drive to the conditions of the roadway. And if you are not comfortable with driving in ice and snow, but you have to go somewhere, call a cab. Call somebody else to come and get you. I know that we just do not have that mentality in North America, but that's what you need to do to keep yourself safe. Yes, all-season tires will do fine if you're just driving around the city in the wintertime and those types of things, but if you're driving up to the ski hill, driving on hard pack, other places where there's going to be snow, then you definitely want some dedicated winter tires on your vehicle. If your state or province allows it, steel-studded tires, okay? Skid control, okay? First and foremost, oversteering, too much braking, too much acceleration. All this is going to cause you to lose control of your vehicle. I don't know whether the video is here on the channel or somewhere, but there's a skid video of me losing control of the buggy a couple of years ago, and that's what happened. I was going down the highway. I was going just a little bit too fast, and I went around a corner, and as soon as the buggy went out of line, as soon as it wasn't straight anymore, it went like this, and as soon as it went like that, I was like, yep, it's going around. So you got to keep it straight. Otherwise, as soon as you get into curves, corners, and turns, that's when you potentially could lose control of your vehicle. If a crash is imminent in the wintertime on ice and snow, try and aim for something that's not hard, like a tree, another car, a rock, all right? Aim for something that's going to give, all right? A fence, a shrub. Get your speed down as much as you can before impact to keep yourself safe. All right, good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. We'll see if this works. Look at that. It worked. It didn't crash on me. All right. OBS, way to go. Thumbs up. I think they finally got enough complaints that somebody realized, oh, wait a minute, there's something wrong with the code. We need to fix this. And, it only took them 6 weeks. So there we go. Marion, I'm scared that I start skidding, that the car will then roll. My biggest fear. Marion, really unlikely that it's going to roll over. Okay, there are very few rollovers with cars and whatnot, so know that it's not going to roll over. You got to work pretty hard to make a car roll over, and you got to be going really, really fast to make it do that. So, yeah, it's not likely it's going to roll over. And if it does roll over, it's probably just going to roll up on the side. It's not going to roll like 3 or 4 times like in a James Bond movie, Casino Royale, where they got it to roll like 12 times. That doesn't happen, okay? they spent a lot of time and a lot of effort to make that vehicle roll that many times in Casino Royale. And not only that, they wrecked a Maserati, which made me almost cry because it's, you know, it's the car that I want, is a Maserati. Jose, any tips on how to calm your anxiety before the road test? Yes, Jose. Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth. Hold for 3 seconds. So breathe. Okay, breathe. That will help your body to relax. That will cause your body to relax. It gets rid of all the bad and negative energy out, all the good stuff in. And remember the mantra, okay? I can do this. The 4 most powerful words in the English language. I can do this, and you will pass your driver's test. You're going to be just fine, okay? A little bit of nerves, a little bit of fear for your driver's test is actually a good thing, okay? It's not a bad thing. It is actually a good thing because it will, you know, keep you sharp. So know that it's not terrible. Excellent. Skinny Fairy, what do you do with people who follow your car closely, winter or summertime? Skinny Fairy, just increase your following distance in front. Okay, don't do anything aggressive when you're driving, when people are tailgating. So know that, and you know, they want to go faster than you anyway, so they're not going to tailgate you for very long. Okay, they're going to be back there, and then they're going to figure out how to get around. If there's a place that you can pull over on the side of the road to let them pass, that's another thing you can do to keep yourself safe. David, if you're going the proper speed for conditions, skids should be easily avoided entirely. Yes, indeed. Okay, only when you're going too fast. Okay. Dawn, hello to your husband. Thank you for that. Being in one accident his whole driving life and it was someone else's fault. Yes, but we want to try to be proactive and we want to avoid other goofy people, right? For example, we come into an intersection and we want to say, no, the other person ran the other light, but we saw them. We looked up the crossroad and we saw them coming and we were pretty sure that they were going to stop, and we started slowing down back in the event that they didn't stop, right? So yeah, and this is where the defensive driving ideology is going. And when I say ideology, is the way that we're thinking about defensive driving. And you know, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, defensive driving was about being reactive and reacting in an emergency situation, that we put on the brakes fast enough that we avoided the crash, or, you know, we swerved in time to avoid the crash. Defensive driving ideology has changed. We don't think that way anymore in terms of defensive driving. It's what I'm teaching in terms of space management, having that 3 to 4 second following distance in front of your vehicle, stopping back 1 vehicle length from traffic in front of you when you're stopped in a line of traffic, or stopping back 1 vehicle length from the crosswalk, because space buys you time, time buys you options, options prevent crashes. So we're looking down the road, we're looking at the traffic patterns, we're interpreting the actions of individual road users, and we're responding accordingly to what's going on in the traffic environment. And if we're doing it correctly, our drive is boring. If you have a boring drive, you're a good driver, because it should not be filled with all kinds of excitement and near misses. Okay, if that's going on when you're driving, you're not doing it right. You're driving too fast, you're following too close, and you're being aggressive. All right, you can still drive fast, because I drive fast, but I never ever compromise that space in front of my vehicle. So always have that space. D, have you noticed more people using high beams in the city? I can't say that I have seen more people using high beams in the city. Most people are pretty good. So no, I can't say I have. Maybe other smart drivers have, for sure. Carrie, what is the best way to learn to be a better driver when the roads are slick? Carrie, the best way to learn how to do that and figure out what's going to happen with your vehicle is go to a parking lot somewhere and do some donuts. And that will show you, you know, and do some aggressive braking, get the vehicle out of line and then a brake. And Corey will put up the video for you on how to learn how to drive in the snow. And that's exactly what I did. I went down and did a video on driving around a parking lot and experiencing understeer, experiencing oversteer, and those types of things. and all of that will teach you how the car will react on slippery surfaces and whatnot. Rena, are there cars bad for learning to drive? I'm learning with a Toyota Yaris and I find it hard to control the gas pedal. Rena, there are some vehicles that are better than others, but when you say gas pedal, Rena, what is the problem that you're having? Corey will put up the video for you on learning how to control speed. And yes, that may help you out in terms of getting control of the fuel pedal. I mean, it might be just, learning fine motor control with your foot and those types of things. It may not be the vehicle itself. Okay, Jose, almost every day I go to the testing site to practice. Is it too much or should I do it once or twice a week? Jose, no, if you're going to the test center, that's great. And make sure that you're driving in and around the test center where you're going to be taking the test to figure out where the school zones are, figure out where the merges are, where you got a bottleneck and 2 lanes go to 1 lane. If that's in and around the test center, if you got a church or you got a crosswalk, those types of things, the more practice that you can get in and around the test center where you're going to be taking your test, the better prepared you are going to be for your driver's test, right? The other tip that I'll give you is that practice in and around the test center at the time you're going to be taking your test to simulate the type of traffic that you're going to be dealing with on test day. For example, if your test is on a Thursday at 10 o'clock, make sure you're practicing during the week around 10 o'clock. Now, you can't go into the test center during business hours, but you can drive in and around the test center at that time of the day, okay? So know that. And that's just a professional courtesy for the driving examiners who are working during the day. Don't go into the test center during the daytime, during normal business hours, okay? Just have professional courtesy, respect what they're doing. Go in after hours, go in on the weekends, on holidays, and those types of things, and you can practice. Now, some of these test centers, if, for example, they do parallel parking with cones, they'll leave the cone set up for you. If they're doing parallel parking off a concrete barrier, for example, they'll leave the concrete barrier there and allow the public access to those types of things. Arch, they don't allow you to practice the test area in New York City. Arch, they don't allow you to practice in the test center in New York City. Now, New York City is a little bit different. When Sam and I did the practice driving test there in New York City, there's no office, okay? There are some of the larger metropolitan places, metropolises, that was the word that I was looking for, Dallas, Texas, Tampa, Florida, the Bronx, New York City, right? They don't have an office. They don't have a parking lot that you can go in. However, you can go and drive around where they're going to be taking the test. And that's what Sam and I did, was we went in on the weekend and we went to the place where they do the test, and we did drive around that area. Now, if your test, as I said, is at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, make sure that you go to that test area at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you're driving around that area to simulate that. The other piece, if you're not taking driver training, hire a driving instructor and he or she will take you out. They will take you on the test route. They will give you feedback on your ability to drive, and they will take you to the place where the examiner will get you to do the slow speed maneuver so that you have all that information when you're driving, okay? And the other piece about this is know that in the wintertime, it's easier to do your test in the wintertime, and there are several reasons for this, okay? First, there isn't as much traffic on the roadways because there's no cyclists, fewer pedestrians because it's cold. They don't want to walk well in the wintertime. So it's going to be easier for that reason. Most vehicles are all front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive now. There's very few vehicles that are rear-wheel drive in the wintertime. So traction is going to be good. If the weather's bad, they're just going to postpone it for another day. All right, they're not going to do it. You're going to get kudos by the driving examiner. The driving examiner is more relaxed in the wintertime. So there's reasons to take your driver's test in the wintertime. As well, it's easier to get a test date because the busiest time of the year is the summertime. It's July, August, part of September. That's when driving schools and driving examiners and test centers are the busiest. So it's easier to take your test in the wintertime. Do not postpone your test until next spring. Take it in the wintertime, okay? And you're going to have a higher skill set as a driver. You're going to be a smarter, safer driver by learning how to drive in the wintertime. Arch, it might be Long Island, but I know there is a sign I can't take a pic. Yeah, Arch, you can't go into the test center per se, okay? And yes, you're right. Some of the test centers will in fact be locked up. They'll have a gate across the front. You can't go in there. But most of the test centers, you can go in after hours and those types of things, okay? Now, you didn't hear me say this, but I'm going to say this anyway. If you're not taking driving lessons with a driving examiner, I would sneak in during the day and at least back into the parking space where they have reserved parking at the DMV. Okay, that's what I would do. I would sneak in during the day and just back in, just so that you've done it once and that it's not a complete surprise when you show up on test day. Okay, so if they're not allowing you to go into the test center and they have it blocked off after hours or on holidays and weekends and those types of things, and you can't go in there, that's what I would do. I would sneak in during office when the DMV is open, and I would at least park once so that it's not a complete surprise on test day. That's what I would suggest. D, we are restricted in Oshawa on test routes for instructors, so I give them routes to do themselves. Excellent. Yeah, and they're definitely restricted, okay? They don't want driving schools to be in and around the test center if they're not in there actually taking a test, okay? It's definitely a professional courtesy. We can talk about that when we talk about driving examiners, and maybe next week that's what I'll do. I'll talk about driving examiners and whatnot. All right, Epic in New Jersey, they are open on the weekends, carried out by driving school. You got to ask them for it. That's what my brother did. He had a driving school instructor briefing in the area and test in Trenton. Yes, so some of the driving schools will go in on the weekends and after hours and whatnot. Evan, watch for people sledding on hills if there's snow and ice outside. Yes, that sometimes happens. Jose, thank you. That really helped a lot. You are most welcome, my friend. Arch, yes, there is nothing. It's an area that are signs that says it's illegal. Okay, it's illegal. All right. Okay. The reason I'm laughing is because when people say to me that it's illegal, it's only illegal if you get caught, right? But there's misdemeanors and then there's felonies in the United States. There's minor crimes and then there's major crimes. I don't think going into a test center is considered a major crime. It's a little bit like jaywalking, right? Is it, I don't know. Anyway, we can debate morality and legal issues at another time. Mike, I always put my hazards on when someone lets me in front of them. Okay. As a courtesy to say thank you. Is that what you're doing, Mike? Jay, as well, the skills tests are required to be started with exact dimensions in the driver's license manual. If there are no centers available to use, you can build the course yourself with 6 cones. Oh, Jay, you're talking about the Ohio maneuverability test. Is that what you're talking about? That's exactly, the rectangle is 9 feet by 20 feet, and then the nose cone is out another 20 feet. Is that what you're talking about in terms of the Ohio maneuverability test? Excellent. So we're talking about wintertime. The other piece about this, and I put up a question on the weekend because I was kind of curious about this, whether people were more afraid of driving at night or whether they were more afraid of driving in the wintertime. And of course, it's that time of the year where, especially for those of us in the West, not so much in the East, but here where I live, it's crazy early for getting dark. Like, right now, it's like 3:30 in the afternoon, it gets dark, and it doesn't get light again until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So we have a lot of darkness here. So you're driving in the wintertime in the dark a lot. And we talked about night driving a couple of weeks ago and, looking for your landmarks, making sure that you keep the glass on your vehicle clean so that you don't get light for refracting through and doing all kinds of funky things. Turning down your dash lights at night to reduce fatigue and reduce distractions when you're driving, trying looking out through the front windshield to keep yourself safe when you're driving at night. So know that the days are a lot shorter in the wintertime. Not only that, we've had a couple of weeks here of just blah, blah. Like, we live in a valley. Once the end of October comes, it just fills up with a cloud and there is little sun, And I was talking to my mate who lives in Montreal, and, it gets frigid cold in the wintertime, like minus 20 degrees Celsius, minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit. but you know, bright blue skies, lots of sun, and it's nice to live there. Because, you know, I would rather have frigid, freezing cold in the wintertime and sunshine than what we get here where it's just bleh. Yeah. Overcast and no sun. It's really hard. It's like living in London, England. It's tough to live here. Anyway, so you got to have night driving skills as well as being able to drive in the wintertime. So that's what it is. So I'm a new driver in the GTA, got my license recently, drove mostly a small car. When learning, I'm having some trouble judging distance for forward parking. My new SUV, any tips? Yes, driving an SUV. Corey will put up the video for you with how to drive an SUV, which is a larger vehicle, how to judge gap, spaces, those types of things. All of that will help you out. And then Marion can talk to me, you know, I'm talking about the weather and seasonal disorder, anxiety and all that stuff, you know, and then there's living in Vancouver and living in Seattle where it just rains all year round, which is just even worse. I lived on Vancouver Island and I would rather have snow and freezing cold, but they just, oh my God, no sun just kills me. D, fog was heavy this morning, Durham, in the Durham region. Yes, there you go. J, and driving onto state property in a state misdemeanor if they choose to press charges. In all practicality, you may have the center manager request you leave or send an officer. Yeah, it's not likely, as you said, Jay, it's not likely they're going to do anything, right? They're just going to come out and say, hey, you know, you're bugging us. You're in our way. Can you leave, please? That's what they're going to do. They're not going to, I mean, unless you know, are adversarial, then they're going to, you know, press the issue. And, I was at jiu-jitsu on yesterday with Phil, who's a police officer, and he was telling me this story about a real estate lawyer. And, you know, it's that time of year in Canada where we have all the drink driving and roadside stops up, and they were doing a stop here outside of town, and this lawyer comes along, and of course many people get American law mixed up with Canadian law, and this person started challenging the police and said that they did not have probable cause to pull him over and give him a breathalyzer. And Canadian law works differently than American law. There is no recourse. You cannot, the police do not have to have probable cause to give you a breathalyzer in Canada. They can just say, here, blow into this, and you are legally required to blow in it. Anyway, the real estate lawyer got adversarial with the police officers. Well, these were your normal, really big police officers. One of them is 6'5" and weighs 270 pounds, and the other one is well above 200 pounds. And they pulled this guy out of the car, they got a hold of him, and he resisted. And the whole thing went sideways, and he ended up eating the pavement with the two of these police officers, you know, somewhere north of 500 pounds, landing on top of him as he got arrested because he was being adversarial with the police and refusing to take a breathalyzer in a roadside stop, which are all over the place here in Canada right now because it's the national, you know, that time of year when we have roadside testing. So, as I've talked to you before in terms of police officers, yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir, answering their questions and doing what they say, because if you decide that it's your constitutional right to do whatever you want, it could be bad for you. It could end badly, as this. Jay, am I a winter operator for the highway department? Please give us sand trucks room, especially behind us. We don't want to fling sand at you, but we don't want you to come back. Jay, yes, exactly what you're just saying. And, you know, I don't know, it was 5 or 6 years ago. I was going through Kamloops, going into Kamloops, running west to Vancouver. I got 2 stone chips off a sand truck because, I don't know, they must be like baseballs or something, the size of the rocks that were coming off the back of the sand truck. 2 of them on the windshield, and then going out, the other side of Kamloops, 2 more stone chips on the windshield. So it was like 4 in a matter of 15 minutes. It was just annoying. So I hear you. We get a lot of black ice. Yes. Lots of ice on the roadways. Epic. Good night, Rick. And in the wintertime, make sure you have an emergency kit complete with winterized washer fluid. Yes, indeed. If you are traveling outside of cities and urban areas and those types of things, fit your vehicle with a survival kit. If you're not doing maintenance and you have a battery that's in question, make sure you have booster cables in your vehicle as well. And do stock your vehicle if you're driving up to the ski hill or driving into areas where you're not going to have cell phone reception and whatnot. Make sure you have that winter survival kit in your vehicle. You know, extra blankets, coats, jackets, toques, mitts, those types of things to keep yourself safe and stay warm, because, you know, it happens every now and again. And as well, make sure that you have a charging cable for your cell phone. And as I've said before, in terms of safety, in terms of distraction, make sure you have a holder for your phone in the vehicles, you know, especially if you're using the nav off your phone and whatnot, the navigation. So all of that will keep you safe in the wintertime. So drive to the conditions of the roadway in the wintertime. As I said, as a general rule, if you're driving faster than the traffic flow, you're probably driving too fast. When you're going to get into trouble, too much brake, too much acceleration, too much steering on the steering wheel, and keep the vehicle straight. When it goes out of line, that's when you're going to get into trouble on snow and ice. Excuse me. And if the conditions of the road are just beyond your capabilities, stay at home. Okay? Call a cab. Get somebody else, get a friend or somebody else that can take you to work or whatnot. All of that will help you out and keep you safe in the winter time. For another video, click here, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.